In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make my homemade scones. I simply adore scones. I love to have them with afternoon tea or just with a cup of tea at home. And I find these really simple to make. You can make them and eat them on the day, or you can freeze them and then take them out and defrost them as and when you fancy a scone. So what you want to do is start off by preheating your oven to 220 degrees centigrade on a fan assisted setting. Then we can get started with making the actual dough for the scones. You'll need a food processor. However, if you don't have one, don't worry, you can still make these. You just need a mixing bowl, and as opposed to adding the butter into this, you'll kind of create a crumble consistency with the flour and the butter, and then you just kind of add the ingredients in the same way that I'll be adding it to this. So to get started, you want to remove the lid from the food processor, and you'll need your dough attachment. So plonk that in there, and now it's time to add in the flour and the baking powder, and I will be using a sieve just to make sure that there's no lumps and bumps in the flour when it's going in, and the baking powder and the flour are well incorporated before they even start mixing in with anything else. So I've measured out 225 grams of plain flour, as well as 3.5 teaspoons of baking powder. Like I said, you want to pass these through the sieve. Just add the flour. Once you've put all of your dry ingredients into the mixing bowl of the food processor, it's time to add the wet ingredients. You'll need 38 grams of unsalted butter at room temperature, so plonk this in here. Put the lid of the food processor back on and just pulse it until a crumble starts to form. So in order to turn the scones from a savoury scone to a sweet scone, I find it's imperative to add the sugar. And it's not very much sugar, it's only 25 grams. So just put this in here and give it one more mix. So now it's time to add the wet ingredients. You'll want 1 egg as well as 113 millilitres of milk. So just crack the egg and put it in with the milk. Then grab either a small whisk or a fork and just incorporate the egg with the milk. So what you want to do is turn the food processor on and just gradually add the milk and the egg to the mixture. And it's much better to have an overly wet mixture in terms of making scones, because the wetter the mixture, the bigger the rise you'll get on the scone, so don't be scared to add it all. However, you may wish to keep some of this milk and egg mixture back, because we will be brushing them on top of the scones before we put them in the oven, so that you get that nice brown colour on top of your scones. So turn it on and we'll gradually add the milk and eggs. I've got enough of the milk and egg mixture left just to brush the scones at the end, but your dough is done. So now you'll want to lightly flour a non-stick surface, or even your worktop surface, that's fine. Just get some flour and gently sprinkle that over. Take the lid off of your food processor, and we're going to tip the dough out onto our floured non-stick surface. So the key to a wonderful scone dough is not to overwork it, because if you overwork it, you don't get a good rise and it kind of becomes very tough. So the less you work it, the better. So just gently knead your dough so that the outside of it is no longer sticky and you can easily kind of work with it. And just flatten it out with your hands to begin with. And then use your rolling pin, and I've lightly dusted this with some flour. And just roll the gorgeous dough out until it's about 1 to 2 centimetres in thickness. And then using a fluted cookie cutter, you'll want to cut out your scones. You can use a smaller cookie cutter or even a bigger one, depending on the size of scones that you like to eat. I have chosen, I'd say this is about a 5 or 6 centimetre cutter, and just simply place it on the dough, push down with your hand, and kind of just move it from side to side, just to make sure it's removed from the sides. And then pick this bit up, kind of rip it, it'll make it picking up a bit easier. And there you have it. That's your scone. It's really as easy as that to make it. Who would have thought? So over here I have a pre-lined baking tray that I've lined with some parchment paper. It will make the scones a lot easier to get off once they're cooked. So simply place this on the baking tray and repeat until you've got them all cut out. This recipe actually makes between 5 to 8 scones, and from this recipe, using the cookie cutter that I did use, I got about 8 of my scones from this, which is fantastic. This is what the scones will look like on the baking tray, and it's time to just quickly apply the egg and milk mixture onto the top of the scone dough. So now that you've done that, you can put them in the oven to cook, and you want to leave them in there for between 10 to 15 minutes until they're golden brown in colour and well risen. So the scones are all cooked now and it smells incredible in my kitchen right now. I've left them on a cooling rack with a towel placed over them so they keep nice and moist and don't dry out. If you can't eat them all whilst they're fresh, by all means you can put them in the freezer and take them out, defrost them and use them as and when you want. I love these scones with a nice thick layer of clotted cream. If you're living in Turkey, clotted cream is called kaymak. You can find it in any supermarket. I also love to whack a dollop of strawberry jam on top of my scones, and I find it's the ultimate treat during the day. So I hope you've enjoyed this recipe, and for more recipes, make sure you subscribe to my channel. The button is right there. And also press the bell icon next to the subscribe button, and that will notify you when I upload new videos. So I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye!